An ancient text describes the southern edge of the world and explicitly warns not to go any further. In our ongoing series on Sugriva's Atlas, a clear pattern has begun to emerge. When the Ramayana is read carefully, stripped of later symbolism and approached as a descriptive text, it begins to behave less like mythology and more like geography. In the previous episode, we followed the eastward expedition and saw how its route aligns with Ice Age coastlines, island chains, distinctive animal species, and even a monumental marker on the coast of South America. Today, we turn south. And what the Ramayana describes in this direction is perhaps the most disturbing of all, because the South is not portrayed as another region to be explored. It is portrayed as a boundary. The southward expedition is central to the Ramayana's narrative. Ravana escapes south with Sita. Jatayu witnesses the direction of flight. Sita drops her ornaments along the southern route, later recovered by the Vanaras as confirmation. Every piece of evidence points southward. This is why Sugriva assigns his most trusted and capable leaders to this direction: Angada, Jambavan, and Hanuman. The southern route is not incidental. It is the axis of pursuit and resolution. Sugriva begins his instructions with remarkable precision. He does not start with distant or abstract lands. He starts in central India and moves methodically southward, naming rivers in sequence. First the Narmada, then the Godavari, then the Krishna, then the Kaveri. This is not poetic ordering. It is geographical traversal. These rivers form a natural north to south corridor across the subcontinent, and Sugriva follows it exactly, narrowing the route as it approaches the southern end of the landmass. As the description continues, Sugriva emphasizes the terrain that dominates the far south. He names the Malaya Parvata and the Mahendra Parvata, corresponding to what we now recognize as the southern western Ghats and the Agastya Malay range. These are not mythical mountains floating in legend. They are specific, prominent geographic features that mark the transition from interior land to the southern edge of India. Then comes one of the most precise astronomical details in the entire Ramayana. Sugriva tells the southern party that when they reach the extreme southern tip, standing on Mahendra mountain, they will see Agastya shining brilliantly, like the sun, low on the horizon. Agastya is the star Canopus. Today, Canopus is visible from much of India, but due to the slow precession of Earth's axis, this was not always the case. Around 14,000 years ago, Canopus could only be seen from the far southern edge of the subcontinent. From anywhere farther north, it would not rise above the horizon. This single observation locks the description to a specific latitude and a specific era. Sugriva then adds a vivid image. He says Agastya appears as if standing with one foot on the mountain and one foot in the ocean. This is not ornamental poetry. It mirrors the physical geography of southern India during a time when sea levels were far lower than today. Large portions of what are now submerged continental shelves would have been exposed land. The coastline extended farther south, and the transition from land to sea was gradual rather than abrupt. At this point, modern assumptions begin to break down. The Ramayana does not describe India ending at today's shoreline. It describes a larger southern landmass consistent with Ice Age reconstructions. Within this framework, there is no immediate need for a constructed bridge narrative. 14,000 years ago, land connections between India and Sri Lanka would have existed naturally, formed by exposed seabeds due to lower sea levels. Sugriva then gives explicit instructions regarding Lanka. He places it offshore, beyond the southern land, at a defined distance. He describes its terrain and unmistakable features, so the Vanaras will recognize it. What is striking is the contrast. When Sugriva first meets Rama, he claims ignorance about Ravana, his strength, and his location. Yet here, he knows exactly where Lanka lies. This suggests strategy rather than confusion. Knowledge is withheld until trust and alliance are secured. But the southern description does not stop with Lanka. Sugriva continues southward, describing islands, seas, and increasingly hostile terrain. The tone changes. The land becomes harder to traverse. The seas become more dangerous. And then, unlike in any other direction, Sugriva issues a warning. He tells the Vanaras not to proceed beyond a certain point. He describes the southernmost land as the realm of the Pitars, associated with Yama. It is portrayed as dark, treacherous, and inhospitable. It is a place one can reach, but from which return is uncertain. This is not framed as a metaphysical afterlife. It is described as a real location with real physical consequences. A land that exists, but is not meant to be entered. The description aligns with Antarctica. By 14,000 years ago, Antarctica was already a hostile landmass dominated by ice, extreme cold, and isolation. Modern science now confirms that in deep prehistory, parts of Antarctica were ice-free and supported river systems. What makes this even more unsettling is that Antarctica appears in maps created long before its official discovery. In 1513, the Ottoman admiral Piri Reis compiled a world map using multiple older sources. In his own notes, he states that his map was drawn from several earlier charts, including maps from India, Arabia, and ancient sources no longer extant. On this map, the southern continent appears connected to South America with recognizable coastlines and river systems, features that would only be visible if Antarctica were free of ice. A few decades later, in 1531, the French mathematician and cartographer Orontius Phineas produced another world map. This map also depicts a southern continent with detailed coastlines and interior rivers. At the time, Antarctica had not been discovered. There were no expeditions capable of surveying it, let alone mapping its subglacial features. And yet, the geography resembles what modern radar imaging would later confirm lies beneath the ice. These maps are not anomalies. They suggest that their creators had access to source material far older than themselves, knowledge that survived through copying, transmission, and inheritance, even as its original context was forgotten. This is where Sugriva's warning becomes critical. He does not describe the southern land as a place of conquest or settlement. He describes it as a boundary, a known land that is deliberately avoided. This distinction mirrors what appears in these early maps. Antarctica is shown, but not inhabited, recognized, but not entered. Sugriva does not tell the Vanaras to go there. He acknowledges its existence and draws a line. The Ramayana itself explains how such knowledge could exist. Rama asks Sugriva how he knows these routes. Sugriva replies that during his exile, after being driven from power by Vali, he traveled extensively across the world, even claiming to have circled it multiple times. Whether taken literally or cautiously, the text presents his knowledge as acquired through movement and observation, not imagination, and not divine revelation. The deeper implication of the southward expedition is this: it reveals a worldview in which the earth is finite, bounded, and already mapped. The south is not infinite, it ends. Beyond that end lies a land that exists but is hostile, dangerous, and deliberately avoided.